Okay, so many times on this show we have talked about the problem with siloed organizations where each department or team or site kind of does their own thing independent of the other. So not only does this lead to a lot of duplicated efforts, obviously, as each silo kind of does the same thing over and over, but also a lack of information flow between these groups means that not everyone always has the information that they need to do their job properly. So this same idea comes into play when we simply think about one function. So let's say the quality function, where we think of quality management just about getting rid of the bad, reducing defects, eliminating waste, handling customer complaints and corrective actions. But the quality function is more than that. It's more than just that little narrow silo. It's also about building the capabilities of your organizations and the people so that they can realize the good. And this requires something what we call systems thinking, understanding how the quality function fits into other aspects of the organization. So here to talk a little bit about systems thinking and other great stuff is Nicole Radziwill, a data scientist and quality practice leader at Intellex. Hi, Nicole.
Hi, Mike. Hi, Dirk. How are you guys doing?
And I should say that Nicole is joining us via audio, just by phone today, not by Skype, so you will hear her voice.
So, Nicole, let's start with this one. For quality managers, what would you say is the importance of systems thinking? I mean, and how does that really differ from the way that many quality managers or maybe their bosses view the quality function as a whole?
Okay, so systems thinking means looking at any problem from the perspective of the environment it's embedded within, the people who are involved, the social and political and technological and relational considerations, incorporating all of those things into your problem-solving process. So essentially, trying not to solve problems in a vacuum. So if you think about, like, let's say your company makes peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and if you think about the process of making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, a linear and mechanistic approach might be, let's whip up a flow chart. Step 1, gather materials. Step 2, open the peanut butter jar. Step 3, put your 2 slices of bread on the counter. Step 4, put your 2mm layer of peanut butter on each slice, or whatever your work instructions tell you to do, and so on and so forth. But the systems approach would incorporate considerations like, where are we making this peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and why are we making it, and for whom? For example, if we were in Japan, we'd have a big problem because it's almost impossible to find peanut butter there. People just don't eat it. Similarly, if your customers might be allergic to peanuts, well, if that's the case, then you've got a bigger problem. And these are the kinds of things that would be considered, if you had taken a systems approach to that peanut butter and jelly manufacturing problem. So most quality managers are great at setting up systems to do the thing right, the thing being production processes or service processes or designing quality into the products. But we also have to do the right thing. And that's a little more difficult because it requires clear and open communication between people who might be in different functional areas. You have to apply judgment. It's difficult to verify whether you actually identified the right thing in the first place. So, this dates all the back, recognizing this issue dates all the way back to 1973. There were these guys named Horst Rittel and Melvin Weber, and they published this fantastic paper called Dilemmas in a General Theory of Planning. But what you may have heard from that paper sometime over the past few decades is the phrase wicked problems. So they talked about lots of characteristics of these wicked problems, but the ones that stood out for me are, number one, you can't fully understand the problem until you've developed some solutions. And that learning process is collaborative and messy and definitely not linear. One of the other things is that there's no stopping rule. So problem solving is going to end when you run out of time or money or people. There's no guarantee that you'll ever get to an optimal or even a correct solution. As a result, your solutions aren't right or wrong, but better than what you had before, or worse than what you had before, or good enough or not good enough. So, with these wicked problems, each one is going to be completely unique because they're situated at a particular time, in a particular place, with particular people involved, and the environment around you is changing constantly. And you might even not be able to observe those changes or detect those changes. So, wicked problems are things like what features should be in our product roadmap. Not just getting them delivered effectively, but which one should be there in the first place, or what should our mission statement be, or what strategic goals should we pursue. And so if you work in quality management, pretty much all the problems you faced are wicked problems, because you have to coordinate people and machines and resources and information. And the problems are messy, the solutions are rarely going to be optimal, and everything is always changing. So systems thinking can help provide a more global perspective on this process and help you reduce the risk of adapting to those changing circumstances.
You had in your article you had what I thought was a quote from Russell Ackoff that I think kind of encapsulated maybe everything that you said there. Maybe we can parse that a little bit. I'll read the quote here. You quote Russell Ackoff as saying, until managers take into account the systemic nature of their organizations, most of their efforts to improve their performance are doomed to failure. If we have a system of improvement that is directed at improving the parts taken separately, you can be absolutely sure that the performance of the whole will not be improved. So let's parse that a little bit. I'm going to take a look at both halves of that. So the first one, until managers take into account the systemic nature of their organizations, most of their efforts to improve the performance are doomed to failure. So what is he saying there?
So I'm going to use a really strange anecdote here, but it's kind of fun, and it gets the point of, I think, what Ackoff's message was across. So in the early 1950s, there was a really big malaria outbreak in Borneo. So the World Health Organization, they went in and they sprayed DDT, which is a really powerful chemical, to kill the mosquitoes and try and get rid of the malaria. And that worked, but unfortunately the DDT also interacted with the thatched roofs on people's houses. And so their roofs started to dissolve. At the same time, all the DDT on the houses, there were lots of feral cats, and so they would rub up against the walls of the houses, and so the DDT got on the cats. The cats ate lizards. That was one of their food sources. The lizards had eaten the poisoned insects that were poisoned by the DDT. And so everything started to die, the cats, the lizards, the insects. And as a result, the rat population went up. So there were no cats to eat the rats. So the rats started, reproducing like crazy. And people started to die because typhus and the plague were spreading. They wanted to get rid of the malaria, but the actions that they took ended up introducing typhus and the plague. So what did the World Health Organization do? And this is kind of funny. They parachuted 14,000 live cats into Borneo to help control the rat problem, which was good, but people were still getting sick. So the moral of the story is that World Health Organization didn't take a systems approach to solve the malaria problem, and they ended up introducing new problems like typhus, plague, homelessness, and an out-of-control cat problem. So, this kind of example shows that there's a difference between quality management, which is executing activities in a way that helps you satisfy your requirements and meet your goals, and business excellence. And a systems approach is going to help your organization shift closer to that goal of excellence. Quality management approaches like Baldrige, they do have at their core a push towards aligning strategy and tactics to make sure we do the right thing, even if we aren't as efficient or effective in making that happen. So, if your ship is sailing slowly in the right general direction, you might actually arrive, but if you're moving really fast the wrong way, or if you're changing directions significantly and frequently, there's a chance you might never get there. So our management systems can help us, prevent that. And the webinar that we have prepared for next Tuesday, that's going to take a look at all the different components of a quality management system from the perspective of the software. How the software elements relate to one another, and how we might approach using quality management software from a systems perspective, so we can, do the right thing in addition to doing the things right.
All right, and perfect. You kind of stole my thunder there. You're right. If you want to hear more interesting stories like cats being parachuted down, then Nicole is the one who will have those stories for you.
There will definitely be a couple more interesting stories on Tuesday. Yep.
So if you're interested in this topic, the systems approach, what it can bring to you, as opposed to thinking of, as Ackoff said, looking at each little part separately. If you're interested in this, we are bringing you a webinar, as Nicole said, next week, titled SPC and FMEA, Integrating Systems Thinking into Your Quality Architecture to Drive Improvement, which kind of says it all. Nicole, who we're talking to right now, will be your presenter. I'll be your host. So check it out. The event is this coming Tuesday, December 4th at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. There's a link to register in Nicole's article, as well as underneath the player page down there if you're watching on our main page. Also, you'll be getting numerous emails inviting you to come join us. So do that. Look for those emails, click on those links, sign up, and be prepared for an interesting talk, because Nicole always gives interesting webinars. So Nicole, thanks for joining us.
Thank you too. See you Tuesday.
Okay, see you then.
Have a good weekend. Thanks, Nicole.